Welcome to our fourth part on our lecture series on the Reformation. Today, we're going to be discussing the English Reformation here on Learning the Social Sciences. How does a man who goes from being given the title Defender of the Faith, meaning the defender of the Catholic Church, go then to break away from that Catholic Church and to place the crown of leadership on his own head? Henry VIII was a devout Catholic. He was somebody who was actually raised to be a high official in the Catholic Church. But when his older brother died, he then switched from being prepared to have a position within the Catholic Church to being prepared to be the future King of England. Now, when he does become the king, he needed a male heir. Now, England does allow for females to be on the throne. However, he is somebody that wants stability and he wants a male to be on the throne. Why? Well, his father was Henry VII and was victorious in winning the War of the Roses and ending a civil war that was going on within England. And his father worked hard to bring about stability. Henry VIII wanted to make sure that his line would also be a strong one. And so he wanted a male on the throne because he did not know exactly what was going to happen if a female was on the throne. Now, he does have a daughter with his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. Now, Catherine was married to his brother. And when his brother died, then Henry married him. And now this can lead to some problems because you probably shouldn't go and marry your dead brother's wife. And it's not really allowed, but it's what happened. But Catherine only gave birth to a girl, Mary. And when she kind of got to the age where he doesn't think that she is going to be giving him a male heir, he then starts to look around. Okay, he's actually been looking around for a long time, and he's probably slept with I don't even know how many people at this point in time. But he is now looking around for a new wife, and he finds one in Anne Boleyn. And he is wanting to marry her and have children with her. However, he needs to go and get his marriage annulled from the Pope. Now, annulment, wait, doesn't that mean that the marriage never happened? And how does the marriage never happen if you have a daughter together? Now, he does send people to Rome to get the annulment, and they are unsuccessful at achieving that. And with that, we have then the problem, what is Henry going to do? The Pope is not going to allow it for numerous reasons. Catherine of Aragon is from Spain. And Spain at this point is a very powerful country, so much so that they kind of actually are holding the Pope. Yes, the Spanish and Holy Roman Empire troops have gone in to Rome, and they actually kind of kidnapped the Pope for a little bit. So yeah, they're just going to say no to that. So when Henry does not get his annulment, he breaks off from the Catholic Church. But he doesn't cause really a reformation of the church. What he basically does is just break off from the Catholic Church, puts himself as the head of the church, and doesn't change the theology that much or at all. So the movements with Germany, with Lutheranism coming in, and with Switzerland and kind of going into Scotland and areas, pockets in France of Calvinism, they are having changes. But the Church of England at this point doesn't really have that Protestant movement to it yet. Other Protestant movements in England are still actually going to be suppressed. Either way, Anne Boleyn goes on and has a daughter, Elizabeth, but that's, well, not a boy either. Anne Boleyn does get pregnant again. However, she miscarries that child. The second child was born highly deformed and did not survive. And so with that, Henry starts looking around for wife number 3. He says Anne Boleyn was cheating on him with a list of people, which of course has been up to debate ever since then. And we're not really going into it here, but if you want to, you can go research more on Anne Boleyn. But he does have her executed when Elizabeth is 3 years old. Henry then goes in 1534 and makes himself the head of the Church of England after he goes and has his Reformation Parliament. He then goes and marries Jane Seymour, who does have a baby boy, Edward, little King Ed. However, Jane Seymour dies as a result of childbirth. Now, Henry does go and has some changes happen. From 1536 to around 1540, Henry is closing the various monasteries within England. And yeah, after Jane has died in 1540, he goes and marries Anne of Cleves, but he divorces her right away and goes and marries on Catherine Howard. Now, Catherine Howard did cheat on Henry, and he then goes and has her beheaded and marries Catherine Parr, who will outlive him. But yes, we have the wives of Henry. Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. Those are the wives of Henry. Henry goes and dies in 1547, not causing a lot of changes to the church. And Edward becomes king as a child. But he does bring in changes to the English church. He technically became king at the age of 9. He is sworn in when he's 10. And he only survives until he is 15. But he does bring this reform to England that a lot of people that are very, very happy with Protestantism want to bring in. But he also goes and changes the succession line in case he dies, which we all do know he does die prematurely at the age of 15. He actually takes his 2 sisters out of the lineup for becoming monarchs, and he goes and names his cousin the next heir, Lady Jane Grey, who is also just a teenager. Now, when Edward does die, though, Lady Jane Grey is going to become the Queen of England. But why in the world did he do it? Why did he take out both of his sisters from being in the lineup? Well, he doesn't want Mary to become queen because Mary is Catholic and she will reestablish the Catholic Church. But it kind of seems like, well, you kind of got to take both of them and denounce both of them and take them both out for the same reason. You can't just pick one over the other. And so with that, Elizabeth is technically out as well. However, Lady Jane Grey is not really seen as the actual monarch. People don't know who she is. They don't understand why she is the queen. And her reign is the shortest in English history of just 9 days. Mary will come to England and she will take the throne. And so she takes the throne in 1553, and in 1554, Lady Jane Grey will be beheaded. So yeah, not a good end to that reign. Queen Mary I is going to reign from July 19th, 1553 to November 17th, 1558. She gets the nickname Bloody Mary because she has around 300, as she calls them, heretics, but they're Protestants, burnt at the stake. She also marries Philip of Spain, somebody who is trying to go and make Europe Catholic again. So he is trying really hard to do that. She also has her sister Elizabeth jailed and put on house arrest to make sure that she's not going to try to take out her Catholic sister. And Elizabeth continually says, no, I'm not going to do anything to you. I will actually reign as a Catholic. She's totally lying. But, she does these things. Mary does not have a successful reign. There's crop failure. She loses the last piece of land that England was actually holding on to in France back from the 100 Years' War. Other various things happen, and she has a very unsuccessful reign. And when she passes away in November of 1558, Elizabeth ascends to the throne as a Protestant monarch. She was raised Protestant. Her mother, Anne Boleyn, was also a Protestant. But she is now the third of Henry's children and the last of Henry's children to take the throne. And with her, actually, she is the last of the Tudor line because they've already gotten rid of Lady Jane Grey. Oops. And so if she would pass away, then the line would go to Mary, Queen of Scots, who is from the House of Stuart. So we'll just kind of put that on the back burner here for a little bit as we think about that. Either way, Elizabeth becomes queen at the age of 25, and she is known as the Virgin Queen. She never marries. And so with that, she's never going to produce an heir. And she reigns for a long time. She reigns from 1558 to 1603. Now, the question is, why does Elizabeth decide not to marry? Well, she used her singleness as a political chess piece, to be able to maneuver it. And it served her quite well throughout her reign to be able to do that. Also, she said that she was married to the people of England, which is always good to make people love you. Anyway, she does reestablish the English Protestant Church after her sister had reverted everything back to Catholicism. She does continue to bring Protestant changes, but very slowly, almost like baby steps. So the Catholics within England, because they are still there, are not going to cause a mass uprising. They don't want that. Anyway, in terms of her marriage, she does have marriage question. She does have Philip II asked to marry her. She refuses. For several years, an Archduke, Charles of Austria, tries to persuade her to marriage. Doesn't happen. Numerous Englishmen courted her. The closest was actually Lord Robert Dudley to actually possibly marry her. But he was somebody that was married before, and while his wife was dying of her illness, she didn't die from the illness, but she fell from falling down the stairs. And this was seen as very suspicious, and people were wondering if Dudley wanted to kind of speed up the process, maybe. And yeah, maybe gave her a little push. And so with that, she could never marry Dudley because of just the bad PR around that story. But Parliament continually asked her to marry, and she just never did it. Either way, Elizabeth led England into their golden age. Something we will discuss about during my absolutism lectures. She does have her cousin, Mary, Queen of Scots, executed, who is the person who is next in line for the English throne. But Mary, Queen of Scots, was in a plot to have Elizabeth assassinated, so there is a reason to it, which we will discuss in another lecture. But because of the execution of Mary, Queen of Scots, Spain goes to try to invade England, and the English are able to defeat the Spanish Armada in 1588. Again, something I will highlight in our Age of Absolutism lecture. In 1599, England started world trade and colonization. Of course, we're going to have the Roanoke colony and the mystery that is going to happen there. The Elizabethan age is going to be seen as a fashionable era, and people just love to copy her fashion, and they copy her love of music, drama, poetry, and we're going to have Shakespearean theater and other areas. It's going to be a true cultural renaissance underneath the reign of Elizabeth. However, when she does die in 1603, her cousin, who she did have executed, Mary, Queen of Scots' son, is going to take the throne as King James I, also being the first of the line of the House of Stuarts. He is also, though, still technically King of Scotland, which is going to now start the process of bringing the Scottish and English together right now with one crown, but shortly under one flag. So this has been our lecture on the English Reformation. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. Bye-bye.